Gut. Magst du es trinken?
Einen auf Deutsch oder auf Englisch?
Jetzt gucken wir mal.
Okay, ja, ja, gerne. Den Tee. Yes,
Den Tee.
please.
Tee. Grüner Kaffee. Ja.
Ah ja, grüner Kaffee.
Ich fürchte, er ist schon ein bisschen... Also er ist grün?
Ja.
Aber kalt.
What's it gonna do to my heart?
Nothing bad. No worries.
Yeah.
No one wanted to Radler.
No, not in the morning.
Yeah.
Not me.
You have to be really
Yeah.
brave. Or I don't know.
I'm gonna try this. I'm curious.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had this before?
Hmm?
Have you had this before?
Yes.
Yes.
It's cold now.
Interesting.
From Sandreuter.
Mhm.
Okay, let's start.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Green Room. This is a short talk show format hosted by Influx, Network for Dance, Theatre and Performance. And in this show we present Salzburg-based artists and their work. I am Ursula Schwarz and I'm your host for today's show, and I welcome in the studio with us Anna Sandreuter.
Thank you for having me.
We're doing this in English. As I got to know, you are born in England.
Yes.
I didn't know that. I just know that you studied at the Circus Space in London.
Yes.
And then performed in various circus companies in Great Britain for many years, and finally founded also your own circus projects.
Mm-hmm.
Crash Mat Collective and Mary Bichou Cabaret and Social Club. I don't know if I said it right.
You've done your homework.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
And now you're basically an aerial and hula hoop artist. That is your main focus in circus arts, and you also teach this at the Zirkustrainingszentrum here in Salzburg.
Yes.
And as you're an international artist, we're doing this in English, although you are also speaking German.
I also speak German.
Yes. Yeah, I'm very happy that we have you here. Circus arts is an art form which is not very known to everyone, although we have the Winterfest here in Salzburg. So this gains a broad audience. What brought you back to Salzburg after many years in Great Britain?
Interesting question. So it's a little bit personal and a little bit also because I was in Britain for a long, long time, and my parents, or my mum and also my stepdad, they were in Salzburg. And so my dad had a big heart operation, and so I'd been back in England for like 18 years, and I just realized my parents are getting older, and I was like, oh, I don't want to, suddenly I've missed the moment. So I thought I'll come back for a while. He's having this big heart operation, and we'll have a few, maybe some more good years. And also I was in touch with Georg Daxner, who started the Winterfest, and his grand plan was always to start a circus school. And he always said to me, when I do this, you'll be part of it, come. And the last time I spoke to him, he said, come, we'll set up a tent in spring and we'll just do it. And so I had sort of made this plan and broken off my tents in the UK already.
Yeah.
And so I came back to Salzburg not really knowing if I would stay. It was like, okay, I'm going to come back for a year or for a while and see. And here I am. That was in 2014, 15, sort of the cusp of the years,
Yeah, so it's not 10 years, but 8.
Yeah, it's a while.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
You stayed. It's always nice when people stay here.
Yeah, and it's hard to stay actually in Salzburg as a circus artist.
Yes.
But it was also for me, like personally, a time of lots of change. I had 2 children in this time, and so becoming a mother, it was actually also a new start in a new country in a way. Even though I'd lived here before, I hadn't lived here as an adult before. Yeah. And then, so this happened, and I was still touring in the UK in 2015. I was at Edinburgh Festival for the whole month, and
you already had children at the time?
No. I was touring in the UK in 2015, and the last bit of touring I did, I was already pregnant.
Okay.
And then I was like, okay, this is going to be a massive change, and so I sort of decided, okay, we're going to stay here for a bit. It's not, we're not going to up and go again. And
That was a new start here.
And yeah, I had already started. I mean, I was already on the board for the Verein Contemporary Circus Austria.
Yeah. Okay.
And we were already starting to try to make the CTC, the Zirkustrainingszentrum. And so, yeah, I was already teaching also circus arts. I mean, I was already sort of doing a lot of the teaching, but artistically, of course, it was a break also having children, like being pregnant and then breastfeeding, and all of this was like a big, for a physical performer, a big change.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
You already mentioned it a little bit, but how difficult is it for a circus artist here in Salzburg or in Austria in general? What was the difference also for you? And
for
how
me,
is it to?
I mean, I think it's really changing now, but what happened was that I came from a place where circus arts were sort of just, they were an art form. They were accepted, they were funded, so I could go to the Arts Council and say, I want to make some work, and I would get funding. Of course, I was also there in a network where I knew people, and like I'd come from a fairly big circus company. When I wanted to do my own work, they were like, okay, we know that company, we know, it was sort of easy to just kind of walk into making my own work. And I was surrounded by a community of artists that did the same thing. And here it was very lonely. There was no one that was doing it, and everyone who does it, they move away, they go to school somewhere else, and then they go and stay because the circus arts, for whatever reason, even though we have the Winterfest, people don't really believe you can do it here, and it's been a long road. And now, like, I've got my first funding, like, from Austria, from the Bund and from the Land, and I'm hoping, it's
There is a new funding from Bund, especially for circus arts,
especially
right?
for
it's
contemporary circus.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's more recognition for this art form.
Yeah, and hopefully it's here to stay because it needs it, man.
Yes.
Otherwise, also, it's always taking away. Then, if you're in the circus arts, they always talk to you as if you're taking away from the dance world and you're taking away from the theater people because, of course, it's. I mean, whether you want it or not, it's competitive. And so then it's like, well, we could give you something from the dance pot, or we could give you something from the theater pot, but it's not.
No,
circus isn't really art.
funding pot where you don't take from anyone.
Yes. I mean, in the Land and Stadt, I think it's. I mean, anyway, it's Darstellende Kunst, but in the Bund, yes, it's contemporary circus, which is really cool.
Yeah.
It's a nice recognition also of the art.
And what was your? How did you access this art form? What was?
How did I come across it, or?
How did you decide, okay, I want to become a circus artist or a aerial performer?
Yeah, good question. I when I left Salzburg, I actually wanted to do dance. And I went and I did a year of contemporary dance. I did a dance foundation course. And then I had my brother had a friend in London who was studying art. And she was going to the circus space and just doing like trapeze classes or something like this. And he was like, oh no, it was definitely trapeze. And he said, oh, you should get in touch with Nayana because she's, a good friend of mine from school, and she's studying art at Goldsmiths College, and also she's doing this circus thing, and I think you'd really dig it. And so I went there with her and just like fell in love, basically. I mean, it was really the space and the form. I don't know, I just started going loads, and I didn't think I was going to do it professionally. I just started training, really, and did that for about a year whilst I was studying dance. And then they were also at a point where they wanted to start offering a BA honours. So this is what's now the National Institute of Circus Arts, but then it was like, a sort of warehouse where a bunch of artists had started doing things, and they got more and more professional, and at some point they were like, we're going to do a BA. And I was there at that time, and so I did the audition for this first ever BA in contemporary circus in London, not thinking that they would take me. And when they did, I was like, I'm never going to get this chance again. And even if I don't do it professionally, it's just such a brilliant opportunity. I'm young, and there's no reason I shouldn't do it. So I did And I haven't looked back, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's interesting because I think also the development of circus arts and the way, like for me it's right because it's, what's the word? In German it would be niederschwellig. Like it's really accessible. Circus arts are very accessible. And I grew up in a really arty family. Like my parents both studied Kunstgeschichte and my mother was, you know, I mean, they're just both so steeped in the arts and it was so intellectual. And I think they were, like my dad was almost disappointed when I went into circus for the reason that many people here would be disappointed if you went into circus because it's like, well, that's, you know, is that really art? There was this big question. And then what's interesting is that we talk about circus in the same way that we talk about bildende Kunst, you know, about all art really. Like we have the same discourse and I come from the same place in thinking about stuff. It's like, what do I want to make circus about? Which is actually not, you know, hasn't always been the main question in circus and but has fast become the question.
I think that's really also the thing with circus, as you say, it's a little bit of dance, it's a little bit of theater, but it also requires a lot of physical strength, and it's like like you really have to train for it to really that you're able to do it more than in any other art form, I would say.
I mean, not more than in ballet or in dance.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, you know, it's similar, I would say.
Yeah.
But you're right that it's very time intensive. Like I have to put so many hours in before I, you know, even can start about what I'm going to do the thing about. Is like I have to put so many hours into just physically doing the thing. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's really the special thing with circus arts, that it's not, I guess. What was your most recent work or something you're proud of you did recently?
So I've just started working with Jordina, who I know was already on here, and this is like I've just done a week in the studio with her, which is the most recent thing I've done, and it's for a project that we're actually going to start. We're going to perform in May with another artist called Remo Rauscher, who's a video artist, and. But the most recent thing before that I did that was already like performing work was with Theater Ecce, who do inclusive theatre work, and it was a kids' piece which was called Der Drachenberg, and I mean it's just a really worthwhile project because of the inclusivity and. It's just a really come-as-you-are process as well. Like everyone is given the space and the, you know, everything they need for their requirements, and that actually is really beautiful in any space, in any artist space. I would really highly recommend this inclusivity of like, oh, what are your needs? Like we have different needs. We have different needs as people, as women, as men, as mums, as like as everything, and so. To be in a space, especially coming back into the arts, it was a perfect you know space to be in. And then of course I love the teaching and the work I do at the Zirkustrainingszentrum, which is I teach adults mainly. And teaching has been something that I've always done, so I enjoy it. What else can I say? I mean the Crash Mat Collective and the stuff that I did in England, I mean, I was proud of all of it for its time. And I think, but of course it seems like a lifetime
ago.
Now. Yeah. Like it's funny because I thought, you know, 8 years ago you would have found me touring everywhere, and now it's like I'm, you know, in a different place totally. But it's also interesting for me because I think, I used to think circus arts was my life. And now I've really come to a point where I'm like, okay, my life is my life, and circus arts is part of my life, and it's really good. It's healthy, I think, as well. Yeah.
That it's not consuming everything, but it's like, You have a family, so you
yeah. I mean, of course, yeah, exactly. Like your time is so different. Like your time is so precious, and it's so different that the amount of time you can give to one thing is so different. But I think it's really, really healthy, because I think that if you work in the arts, everyone knows this, that we work the longest hours for the least, return, and unless you're famous, like you do this, and everyone does it, and you also work beyond productivity as well. Like you don't think, oh, it's time to stop and go and think about something else. And actually, it's really healthy to think about something else, and to go and do something else, and to engage in other people's work. And I mean, this is something that I also am inviting much more into. I mean, with the CTL, so the Circus Tanz Labor that's happening in the tent, but also with Influx, with, going and working with people from other disciplines. And I've always done this. We did this in the cabarets also. We had performance artists and dancers and musicians, and like this exchange between the disciplines has always been important to me. But I think I'm thinking more consciously about it now.
Yeah, also the projects you do, they're really in very different settings. It's never the classical, how audience would maybe see you in a tent in a classical circus. It's very much also theater pieces where they bring in circus arts and also different kind of settings, right?
Yeah. So the first big company that I worked with, they worked in a circus tent, but it was the furthest away you could be from traditional circus. I mean, it was a live band, and it was like, I don't know, I mean, it was like, a rock, not rock, but like, live, really contemporary music. And the director, who's Italian, called Frenza Guidi, makes work that is, I mean, it's very unique, I mean, to her, and it's very trad circus. So that was the first big company I worked for. And so even though I then went into cabaret and stuff, it was never looking at it from a trad. It was always looking at it from a kind of performance standpoint, for sure.
Okay, thank you for the first round of questions. One last one. What are you waiting for?
I'm waiting for... What am I waiting for? Whew. I'm waiting for the train to go. No, I'm waiting for the rain to stop. I think I'm still waiting for the work to be easy. I mean, really, like, just, this is what I do, and it's always available. I think it's like I'm still, or here anyway, like there's still a lot of labor that goes into getting the work.
Yes.
If it's like applying for funding or whatever, there's a lot of work that goes into the work.
Yes,
getting the work.
Yes, so, to all of that.
Yeah,
it's
so
really
before doing the work, you've done so much work.
Yes.
And for me, I think it's sometimes it's like, oh God, I just want to do the work.
Yeah, can we just do art?
I'm doing more and more, like it's kind of doing, we're doing it more and more, but of course Corona has been a challenging time, I think, for all artists. And so like just doing the work is the thing that we do it for, and I think there's a lot of work that goes into doing the work.
Yeah, that's true, that's true. So now we come to the second part of our talk show. It's the jellyfishing. So now you can...
Jellyfishing? Yeah.
Fish 3 of those questions in there.
3 at once?
3, no. After one after the other.
Okay.
But just 3 out of 5.
Okay.
Just pick.
Yeah. I'm going to go with this one. So it says, my biggest achievement in life was so far. So, It's a tricky one. I mean, so of course there's professional achievements and then there's personal achievements, and for me,
pick one of those.
I think I cannot, as a mom, I cannot not mention like having children, but of course having children is something that you do, I mean, regardless of, it's not an achievement as such, so, but it's, I guess I'm talking challenge here. Before having children, I would have said my biggest achievement was to kind of make it in the circus arts, to the point where I could live off that and I wasn't doing other jobs to support it and all of that, which was great, and I felt like it was an achievement. And then I had kids and I realized that there's things that are like in many ways more challenging and more rewarding, and so yeah, I mean, this is what I think maybe why I said before, my life is my life and not circus is my life, because it's changed. And as you age, you also realize how much you identify with the thing you do. And I think becoming a mother has done so many things that were so good for me. Like I'm far less self-involved than I used to be, because my life is essentially, I have 2 daughters and it's not entirely about me anymore. And I used to feel sorry for people who had children, because I just thought, oh my God, it's so involving, and I'm so, so involved in my own life, and, who needs that? But what you get from having children is so rich, and yes, it's the most challenging thing that I've ever done, but it's also so rich, and I recommend it because it just takes the focus off you in some ways, and it's...
children put things in the right place.
Ah, man. Really, really, really. I mean, I really thought, and I see it now with people that are revolving around themselves. I just think, oh, I don't have time. I don't have time to do that in the same way. Of course, we all revolve around ourselves to an extent, but it's a very healthy process, I think, because your time is limited, and you become... I mean, anyway, yeah. Age probably does that too, and maybe you don't have to have children to come to this conclusion. And I think if you think about the world, which is another, whole nother topic, then of course there's enough to think about without, having to go into having children. But I think it helps.
Yeah, I think it needs some self-centeredness to be an artist. But it's also very healthy when it's not too much, and you can put it in perspective. Myself in the world and myself on stage, and myself, like that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I think it's very healthy to kind of work with other artists, so that it's not just myself, because then you realize, okay, there's other people in the space, and they're a part of the thing, and Bit of jello goes flying. What is your favorite book at the moment? I'm one of those people that reads a bunch of books at the same time. So I have on my bedside, well, I just finished a book. I can't say it's my favorite book, actually. I'm reading a book by Leonard Cohen, which is sort of texts. And it's really beautiful because he's a poet, essentially. Obviously, he's a musician, but he's a poet. Yeah. And he does this magical thing where he talks about the world in kind of cryptic ways, and you can interpret it in a way that is completely, possibly unrelated to how he meant it. And I love it. So you kind of know he has a meaning in what he's writing, but you interpret it in this kind of wide open way that is applicable to you, and I think it's beautiful. And I would like to do this also. And then, yeah, so I read a book called I Hate Men, because I'm on this whole, like, reading lots and lots of feminist books. And it's a woman called Pauline Armange, and she doesn't hate men, but she does a thought experiment where she says, what would it be like, you know, to say that she's married to a man, and she just is like, she writes this essay, and I thought it was interesting because it just it isn't a rant, it's more like a musing about what it's like as a woman to think about this and maybe formulate a kind of generic thought versus what it's like as a man to be like, oh, you know, I just, in the smallest way, like, I don't take women seriously, or I disrespect women because it, you know, is so. And as a woman, quite generally, women don't hate men, and you know, but it's like always, as soon as you start thinking about this, you're kind of branded a man hater, and she just goes along and she goes, I'm going to write this essay, and I'm going to call it that, so that you know, we can just have a, you know, a chat about it. And I thought it was interesting. But I wouldn't say it's my favorite book in the world. It's just something, the most recent book I read. Yeah, okay, yeah. Cool. Another one?
Third question.
I am an artist because I am an artist because it's the route I took early on, and because I haven't fallen out of love with it. I still think it's a way of being in the world and relating to the world and communicating about the world that is different to other ways of being in the world and relating to the world and communicating about the world. And yeah, I mean, it moves me. Art moves me, and that's why I think I like being an artist, because I'm moved by other artists, and I realize that it's almost like a spiritual thing for me if I get really touched by someone else's art. It's like it opens something, and like, for lack of, I don't know, other spiritual avenues, I mean, I'm really not a very religious person or in any way very spiritual. It's just a way of relating to the world that does something for me, and I aspire to do that also.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We come to the last part, a very quick one.
Okay.
Spontaneous answers, please. Process or product?
Process.
On stage or backstage?
On stage.
Of course. Music or sound?
Music.
Meaning or nonsense?
Meaning.
Creative chaos or well organized?
Creative chaos.
Concrete or abstract?
Abstract.
Past or future?
Bit of both.
High culture or pop culture?
Definitely both. I feel like I'm somewhere right in the middle. And this is something that I kind of mentioned before. I think it's a good place to be. And I think if you only like the one or only like the other, then you're, I know I'm not in the quick round, but I really think it's a good place to be, because you can do both. I think you can be a pop musician that talks about real things, and there are great examples out there, and I think it's the same. in any art medium. I think you can do this as a clown, you can be very deep, and I think as a circus artist also, I mean, you can choose to do one time and one the other, but I think it's great to be able to move in both worlds.
Yeah, yeah. I think we end it here. It was a nice ending. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, coming here, talking to me about you and how you see your art form.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you also for those behind or in front of the screen for watching. You can find Influx on Facebook, Instagram, or our homepage www.influxart.at. And yeah, what is your next concrete date where we can see you perform? Is there already a concrete date where we can see you?
Well, yes, we have dates, which are the 12th, 13th and 14th of May, probably in Hallein, and hopefully then also in the circus tent in Salzburg, in the Ecce tent, but not an Ecce production. So it's my own project.
The project with Jardina, right?
Yes, yes. But it's also with Body and Soul, so with Christa Sandreuter as a partner organization, cooperation. And I'm excited about it, but we're really, really at the beginning of the process, and we only have like a name at the moment, a working title, so more to come.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Interesting. And you also teach at CTC.
CTC, yeah. I teach on Monday nights. I teach aerial, and but I'm out there. I'm there training all the time, and
And it's open for everyone.
It's open for everyone. Yeah. Just
so if you want to learn aerial art, then you can.
No matter your age, come and learn with me.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Anna.
Thank you so much.